You ever been walking through the Navy Exchange and wonder why all the Naval Pride and Heritage gear is horrifically ugly and you wouldn't actually wear it? Have you ever wanted some really cool gear and you just don't know where to go? Well, I got you, fam. Go to dgutspodcast.com immediately. Get yourself some Naval Pride and Heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. We're working on new designs all the time, open to ideas. We're trying to create a brand that lets you display that pride but doesn't make you cringe. Also, if you're willing to and you're able to, please go to patreon.com/dgutspodcast, pick one of the 5 tiers and become a patron today. What's up, everybody? Let's spin some yarn. It's almost Chief season-y. It's I guess FTS and reserve results are out, and then active ones are inbound. I haven't been following the timeline super closely because I'm not really involved in much. If you'd like me to be, let me know. I'm happy to do some stuff, especially locally. I'm in Washington State, so if you're in one of the bases here and you would like me to come do some stuff, preferably not final night stuff. I don't know if I got that kind of juice left in me to be in that environment, and even just being out all night, I'm useless. I need to sleep. So, but yeah, like coming and doing a training or whatever, happy to come hang out. But it's been a while since I've got real deep into some Chiefs season stuff. It's relevant timeline wise. And then somebody sent me a Reddit post regarding some Chiefs season stuff. It says spoilers. It's nothing you haven't heard on this podcast already. So and I'll post it in a clip. I'll post like a screenshot, but I can put the URLs on Reddit, I guess, in the show notes if you're really that interested. But you can find it pretty easily if you just scroll through our Navy on Reddit. But it says Chief season, welcome to the annual fuck games. May the odds be ever in your favor. Strong title, strong subject line. And it's there's nothing in it that's like shocking in any way or that I wildly disagree with. The only thing, when it was sent to me, my kind of snap reaction after I read it was like nothing untrue is said really, but it's like all negatively framed, so it's all just like trying to help us. I think it comes from a place of trying to help selectees like navigate the fuck game part of it, which is the majority of it, to be fair. Which is kind of like all the Initiation Chronicle stuff that I do, and even teaching to the Creed. It's like the stuff that they purposely don't explain, partially because they don't want to, and partially because they couldn't, even if you put a gun to their head, because there's no training objectives and the Emperor has no clothes and so on. That's kind of what this was aimed at addressing, which I think is good. Like, that's why I did all the things that I did previously, but there are good things that happen during the Chief season. Are the good things that happen a result of the best possible approach? No, not even a fucking little bit. But there can be some really cool things that happen during the Chief season, even when the broken process is used by a dysfunctional Chiefs mess, more so when the broken process is used by a really strong and competent Chiefs mess, which they exist, I promise. But then, it's this one seems to be framed to be all negative in its indictment and critique of the Chiefs season. The positive goal, of course, being to like try to help a Chief select not go through the same kind of heartburn that this person did. And it's signed salty wife of a Chief that took his season way too serious. There's a 0% chance that the person writing this isn't a Chief. Maybe they are also the salty wife of a Chief that took the season too seriously, but they know way too much and explained it in a way that it's like, this is a Chief writing this. I don't fucking believe for a second this is just a spouse that's never been a Chief, but whatever. It's not really the point. Some of the stuff in it, like, I don't I'm going to just talk about kind of like the spirit of this part of it. And then I have another Reddit post that is also addressing another side of it that I thought was really interesting. I found it by accident when I was trying to find this one again. But this one, it's like, it basically approaches it from a lot of the places that I have with the Initiation Chronicles, and then just some of the discussions I've had with people's experiences during Chief seasons, where like it basically immediately presses reset on everything you've ever known, and like every behavior that's been ingrained into you, such as your family comes first, which is one of the things they call out here. It's like, your family still comes first, even during the Chief season. A lot of people lose sight of that. Same thing with like the crazy working hours, the weird adversarial relationship that's created between the genuine Chiefs and the Selectees, right? It's created by the mess. Like it's there's so much shit that happens that's like counterintuitive when contrasted against everything you've ever like experienced in your naval career up to that point. But then they also like just turn a lot of stuff on their head. Like it's the second one is you're wrong even when you're right. The more right you are, the worse the punishment. Accept it and move on, or stand up for yourself and receive more punishment. But the Chiefs are secretly proud. Not untrue. Like it's not, there's no lies told here. But that's kind of, the good Chiefs, when critiquing the broken process, will tell you that Moose, stop looking, dog. This dog. My dog's behind me making licking noises that I'm sure are being picked up by the microphone. Say hi, Moose. When analyzing the Chief season, a good Chief will tell you that ideally, again, keep in mind the context is a broken process that they know to be broken, but they feel like they have to use it because that's what we're doing, right? Like this is what we're doing. This is how we've always done it. They'll tell you that like in moments like that, where that they just described is like they want you to prioritize your tasks and then say no to the bullshit and push back and ask for help and all these things, right? The problem is most messes are dysfunctional, and those dysfunctional messes, when you ask for help, are just you're gonna be a piece of shit for asking for help, or you're gonna be a piece of shit for pushing back, or you're gonna be a piece of shit for saying no to superfluous tasks that don't matter, so that you're not overwhelmed, so that you can put your family first and you can get a reasonable amount of sleep. It's the good ones are going to tell you, like, when you push back or when you do those types of things, like, you're going to get some form of an affirmation that you're on the right track from either your sponsor or from the whole mess, ideally. When you do that, like when you take that stand, or when you even just when you do something good, like if you come together as a team and efficiently execute a task and just like the product that comes out the other end is slightly above average, like that should be positively reinforced. It's usually not, but it should be. And so that's kind of what they're getting at with that one. There's another one. It's adjacent, but it's basically just telling you like it's all part of a game. No one will tell you anything. Don't let it turn into a treasure hunt to find answers. They want you to ask the right questions, figure it out, and make a decision. That's like shit like that is how I know a Chief wrote this. But anyway, it's accurate, but it's also like there's certain things on the treasure hunt, in the treasure hunt vein, where it's like Chief Bob always talks about the phone cards. Like, you're going to get tasked with making a phone card. They're going to give you a bunch of stupid ass requirements for it, like rank ordering and seniority and all this other stupid shit. Maybe they're going to make you alphabetize it somehow, or they're going to make you write it add some stupid details to it, or make it really gaudy and over the top, or whatever. It's a fucking phone card. The prime directive of a phone card is to distribute phone numbers. Who gives a shit if it's pretty, as long as it's durable and you can read the goddamn thing and everybody's on it. Do that. You can write it all on a fucking sticky note and then Xerox it or something. Like, who cares? It's a phone card. And it's a phone card for people who already have all these phone numbers in their fucking cell phones anyway. So what are we doing? Like, modern day with smartphones and everything, just put everybody's numbers on a sheet of paper and pin it to the bulletin board in the Chiefs mess. And if they can't figure it the fuck out, we got bigger problems. But like, it's an example of like people will spend, like groups, selectee groups will spend just preposterous amounts of time like running around trying to make the perfect phone card and get approval from this group of people who are going to tell you you're wrong even when you're right. So it's like, who cares if what they say? Just make the phone card, move on with life. And no matter what, like they'll keep giving you shit about it. They'll keep hassling you about it. But it's like, do you have the phone numbers? Okay, cool. Next. You know, what's next? Like, I don't give a fuck what it looks like, or it's functional. It's working. It's doing its job. Don't care. Like, next. Prioritize and execute. Just keep it moving. But again, most dysfunctional messes will just continue to shit on you, even though you're pushing back, prioritizing tasks, saying no to superfluous ones, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's like, even though you're doing the thing you're supposed to be doing, the dysfunctional messes just want to get their licks in. You know what I mean? They just want to vent all their rage and self-loathing on an easy target versus chiefs who are actually invested in your leadership development. And again, they exist. There are good messes out there that are using this broken mechanism to do their best. And in those situations, you can get a lot out of it. And that's what's kind of missing from this. But this post, it's like, when I got it sent to me, I think maybe he thought I was going to have some kind of a hot take. And I'm like, I don't got any heartburn about any of this. Like, none of it's wrong. And there's actually some really great stuff in here, like be decisive and set boundaries. I was talking to some people last year about that, and the very next one, family never comes second. It's like, if you've got kids and a spouse at home, or like significant other or whatever, they don't come second. They don't. It's just like, and they'll give you some bullshit fucking line about mission first, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, is this the mission though? Like, because there's an argument to be made that it's not even mandatory, even though it kind of is, kind of not. Like, I'll get into that when I get to the next Reddit post that I'm going to talk about. But even if it is a mandatory training event, and even if you don't have a choice and you have to do all this bullshit, it's like family doesn't come second. And they're going to be the ones that are around when you're done with this, whether you're done in a couple years or after 30, you know, it's like, they're the ones that are going to be there when this is all gone. So it's like, you put them first. They're more important. They are. Like, so it's just like, don't ever let anything, including like, especially this shit. 'Cause like, again, like you get into this post and a lot of it is kind of bullshit. And so you're gonna harm your relationship with the people you love most over this shit. Like, don't do that. Your family comes first, and just dig your heels in. And it's like, they can't come for you when, you know, like, it's like, okay, well, you're trying to make me work out like ridiculous hours and on weekends, which is not normal and is not a thing that was sustainable for me before. So why would it be now? And I also just have to maintain my relationship with my family, which they make into an important thing because it is outside of the Chiefs season. So why does it all of a sudden become just a problem I have to solve with no help from the mess during the Chiefs season? You don't. It's bullshit. Say no. Dig your heels in. The boundaries thing, being decisive about setting boundaries and sticking to them is enormous, because the more compromises you make, the more they're going to ask for and expect out of you. It's like, no, fuck off. Like, draw those lines and don't let anybody cross them. Like, mandatory training event or not, it's like you're a parent first, like you're a spouse first, or whatever relationship familially that we're talking about. It says none of it matters in the end. That's funny. Hint, hint, lesson, have fun and give as much shit back to the Chiefs as they give you. As always, see number 2, you're wrong even when you're right. So like, that's a good one too. A lot of people forget to have fun. It's supposed to be a bonding experience with this group of people whose community you're now becoming a member of. That's a component of it. It's not focused on like, I mean, it's an important piece, right? You're effectively team building, even though we're doing a real shit job of it, because the first thing we do is create an adversarial relationship with the people that we're trying to assimilate into this group. But okay, guess this is what we're doing. But there's supposed to be a team building mechanism to it, like where the Chiefs and the Selectees are coming together, right? So it's like, there's a component of that where it's like, have some fun, play some pranks, talk some shit, do some goofy, like what somebody gave me an example the other day about like MTS training types that were in their selectee group, basically setting like rules when they do training in the mess, and saying that like the genuines have to raise their hand and not speak out of turn and respect the instructor and the classroom environment, and we're here to learn things, not to, basically like kneecapping the whole premise of like they're just going to yell at you and sabotage training, which they're probably going to do anyway. But it's kind of funny to tell them what to do given the dynamic that's created at the beginning of the Chiefs season. You can have some fun with it, and they may play along, and it makes a lot of it more fun where you can kind of like laugh through the adversity. But just remember to have some fun with it. You used to see a lot of pranks from fundraising. Like one of my favorite ones when fundraising was still a thing was somebody, I forget what region it was in. It might have been here, but I can't remember. But somebody told me this story about, they had a 5-gallon bucket that they like put a fence post in and concreted it in there. So it was like preposterously heavy. It might have been like a 50-gallon drum. It was like stupid heavy where like it would take a grip of people to move this thing. And they put this sign on it. They like had a sign made, and it was an anchor, and I think it said like the anchor, and it said if you want it moved off of your lawn, it's like $50. If you want it moved on your lawn and guaranteed not to come back to your lawn, it was $100. And then if you want it moved off yours, guaranteed to not come back, and you want to name the next victim, so they like move it to someone else's lawn, it was like $150. It was hilarious. And it was also like super, super clever when you're talking about fundraising, because they didn't really have to do anything except occasionally move this big ass thing. And they had a group of people to do it, just bring somebody's truck over and move it and just dump it on someone else's lawn. It was pretty great, and it was hilarious. So that's the spirit of that, even though fundraising isn't real anymore, is kind of what I mean by like, have some fun with it. Like you should be playing some pranks and joking around a little bit in the midst of trying to do all the other things and learn and have fun and whatever. So I would encourage you to check this out. Again, I'll put the link in the description, but I thought it was an interesting post because not just because of what it says, because I've talked about most of this stuff, but because like the spirit of it, and that somebody was willing to post it on Reddit. I found just kind of like indicative of like the general, like just like a sense of like the mood going into another Chiefs season, right? Like, where it's like, oh, here we go again. Welcome to the annual fuck games. And it's like, it's hard to argue against that sentiment. And that sentiment is what struck me as like, I kind of want to talk about this, even though like, I feel like I spent a lot of time in this area. But with it being so relevant timeline wise, and also I see this sentiment on Reddit and on the internet generally, and from people that regularly correspond with me through the podcast, it's like it seems to be like winter is coming. Like it's like a looming dread, like this just feeling they're anticipating this like other shoe dropping, and god damn it, now I gotta do this bullshit. And it's like, that shouldn't be how you're entering into like a significant career milestone that you ostensibly have like worked really hard to attain and very much looked forward to, and now it's finally here if you're selected, and then you're like this like impending doom feeling is layered on top of all the other like just normal baseline stress with the insane thing you do for a living. It's like, I don't know, like I wanted to address this as a concept for that reason. So the other post, I'll pivot now, it says P4 commanding officers CPO season. It's from the SWO6 username on Reddit, which is, clearly a surface warfare officer, probably a captain because 06. But like, I don't follow all their posts, so that might be an obvious thing besides me just assuming it or inferring it from their username. But they're very clearly like a commanding officer level person. I mean, they talk about being a commanding officer, but also like their perspective on the chief season is very much from the lens of a commanding officer who's experienced a bunch of chief seasons. But some of the stuff in it I thought was really cool. Some of it I also think is misinformed, and I'll get to I'll start with those actually. One of the things mentioned in here is it's like it says like approaching it, because this is addressed to COs and like just tips on how to manage the chief season. And one thing that is a theme throughout this entire thing is that the CO owns this, and you'll see guidance come out from the MCPONs usually that says a command SEL is accountable for it, but the CO's accountable for it. Like the command SEL will for sure feel the pain and be held accountable if this thing goes off the rails. But at the end of the day, it's like you're required to brief your CO and get approval. Like it's not, you can't do shit like this because a lot of the stuff happens outside of normal working hours, and there's PT related things. There's some risk involved. And you've heard all the horror stories via the podcast and even just people relaying them on Reddit and stuff like that. So there's very much a need for oversight, and your CO is the most significant, like kind of like first line of like exterior oversight, because the oversight provided by your CMC, while important, is like you're self-auditing. Like the CMC's auditing himself and his mess. So it's like, or her, but it's like that's a self-audit. The CO is more of an exterior audit because they're not a chief. And you should be briefing and getting approval for all the events and planned like training exercises and stuff, but from your CO. Like you should be required to brief them and make them understand. And some of the stuff he gets into is like, I'm again assuming it's a he. I don't, that might just be me reading into it, but he gets into like asking, he said it's your CPO season, addressing it to COs, and then he kind of like pre-programmed in his own response of like, I'm not a chief, it's not about me. He said, sure, but mark my words, if something goes wrong or someone gets hurt, you'll quickly realize how much of this season is yours. So treat it as such. Make the CMC and the season reps go through every step of the schedule with a fine-tooth comb. What are they doing? Where? What equipment? Who will be there? How do they ensure safety? What happens if something goes wrong? And most importantly, this is my favorite line probably, why are they doing this event, and how does it tie back to chief professional development? What's the training objective? Like this CO already knows, like, I mean, this is such a fucking basic thing that is routinely fucked up or just ignored, really. Because, like, for the chiefs to be able to explain a training objective of an event, there needs to be one. Okay, where's the master course document and the instructor guide or whatever the fuck we're using that has the training objectives? There isn't one. It's not real. So you have to then, which they tell you not to do, shoot from the hip, right? The mission, vision, guiding principles, maybe. Like, you have to fucking figure this shit out, and that's why it should all be formalized, and these documents should be given to you. I mean, We have a war college for a reason. We have a MCPON for a reason, and all these MCPON leadership mess people and fuck Senior Enlisted Academy could help, I'm sure, which is just a subsidiary of the war college. But like, there's all these mechanisms we have that could develop these things so that there is, because that's what a CO, and my COs, this is a service warfare officer, presumably. My COs have always been nukes. I've been a briefing and getting approval for these things from nuclear engineers my entire career. Good fucking luck getting approval for anything without source documentation, without like objective quality evidence and the ability to like prove that this is a training objective. Because if I just wrote up a PowerPoint or some type of a brief and then told my CO, hey, these are the training objectives. He goes, okay, where'd these come from? I made them up. And he's like, not fucking good enough. Where's the reference? Where's the source documents and policy documents and procedures and all this shit? And it's just like, that's a hard conversation to have where you're like, well, there isn't one, when you've been told your entire career as a submariner, and I'm assuming they say this elsewhere, is like there's a procedure for everything. And it's kind of true. I mean, it's true 99% of the time. Like, I could show you the procedure for a fucking peanut butter and jelly. Can I show you one for how to develop a chief petty officer professionally? Sure the fuck can't. That's weird. Like, how are we in this place? But I love that point was in this post, because it's so goddamn true, and it's by far and away the most important thing. Every CO in the fucking fleet, in the entire structure of the Navy, should be demanding justification via a training objective of some kind. Like, how is this creating a chief petty officer? What is the competency you're addressing here? Like, what are we like from start to end? Just like at the beginning of every training, here's the training objectives. By the end of this training, you should be able to blah blah blah, or you should be improved in these areas or have this new knowledge or whatever. Okay, start telling me what they are. Every CO in the entire Navy should be demanding that before a chief season starts. But then they say, what happens if something goes wrong? Most importantly, okay, so it says if you don't get a satisfactory answer to your questions on any particular event, cancel it. You can do that. I'm assuming they mean individual events within the skin of the chief season, and that's 100% real. Like, the CO can just be like, you're not doing that. That's 100% real. If you're talking about canceling the whole chief season, like you're just saying, oh, you're just not going to do it since you can't brief me on all the things. It's like, I don't know that that's going to happen the way that an individual CO thinks it would, even though I'm sure that individual CO would be having conversations with their ISIC, and the CMCs involved would be talking and everything else. I don't think you're going to cancel it. However, the case that I hear made is the only mandatory events are the PFA and teaching the creed. But then previously, the MCPON used to release guidance. This was Russ Smith, I think, was the last one to do this, where he would release formal guidance saying that, I think the first one was Stevens, and then I think it happened through Smith. Don't quote me on that, but one of them started it, where there was the guidance they would release every year that they would publish on their MCPON leadership page at Navy.mil. Would say that the chief season's a mandatory training event. Like, you don't have an option to participate. And it says that later in here too, about how participation is like voluntary. It's like, not really. Like, kind of. It's weird because it's like, again, just like we don't have like a master course document with instructor guides and training objectives and like a consistent goal throughout every training event. You know what I mean? Not like everything has the same training objective, but I mean just like from mess to mess, that the training objectives aren't essentially the same. We don't have that. We also don't have anything saying whether or not this is mandatory. So like the CO can give the lawful order upon approval saying this is a training event, then you shall attend and participate. And then it's a lawful order. You don't get a vote there if the CO says that, and they can say that. But then the CO could also say, which they allude to a little bit, I don't think that's exactly what they meant in this post, but for the sake of argument, let's say that it was. It's like, I don't think that electing participation as an individual is real. Just like I don't think that a command would be able to shut it down individually just because they're not satisfied with the Chiefs mess approach to it. They would just find some type of an alternate way of doing things, I would imagine. Or if the mess was that dysfunctional, like, why does the CO still have a job? But also, like, there would be like an outside entity coming in, I would imagine, to like figure out where to farm all these people out to so that they get an experience that will help them, which would help like fix the problem of this mess that apparently can't figure out how to run a Chiefs season, theoretically, in this thought experiment. But I don't think you can just say, yeah, we're just not doing it. Like, if we were at a place where something happened that was so egregious that a CO is like, yeah, we're just not fucking doing this anymore, that you would think that would also be egregious enough to shut down the whole Chiefs season, safety stand down, Navy times cover type shit. But anyway, I digress. So the idea of this thing being voluntary it's a weird gray area. Like, there used to be MCPON guidance saying that it was a mandatory training event. Now they don't really do that anymore. We'll see if Honey does it this year. I haven't actually. Let me look really quick. Maybe we'll see if he updated it on his thing. It's not going to let me go to the webpage. That's weird. Maybe I got banned. Maybe I got blocked. Did I get blocked? Let me see. Okay. I think it's going to let me go to the page this way. Okay. But yeah, I don't, there's no policy document. Like, there's not an instruction to go to on, how to run the Chiefs season. There's not a policy document on whether or not you have to participate or not participate. He's got priorities and calls to action, and the mission, vision, guide, principles, laying the keels here, teaching of the creeds here, CPO initiation. Those are all those other letters that I went through already. So yeah, I mean, there's not, as far as I can tell, there's not even a guidance. Yeah, there's not even guidance on this page. Like, there's just the initiation, character, competency, and connections letters, and an introduction letter, which I did those podcasts on. There's nothing specific in there. And then he's got charge letters. But it's like, yeah, this doesn't say one way or the other, like, that it's mandatory or not. And these are from last year anyway. But there's no policy. Like, there's nothing saying it's mandatory or it's not, right? There's nothing saying, like, could a CO just shut it off and say, yeah, we're not playing? Could an individual just opt out like they used to be able to? And then Stevens started saying it was mandatory. And it kind of became that for a while, even though I know there are some places where they were still allowing people to opt out, which it seems ridiculous if we have guidance that says it's mandatory. But now we don't anymore, because that guidance was annual. It was just like a thing, a MCPON memo he would put out, and he would update it annually. Well, if they're not doing that, then is that still real? It's not even on the webpage anymore. There's no instruction or nav admin or anything that says that this is a mandatory training event. So, like, fuck, like, you know what I mean? Like, this, it's so fucking ridiculous that we've allowed this to exist in this way for so long. Yeah, there are always lessons in the task. Most of the time, my experience in parentheses, the Chiefs contradict themselves on the daily. Own up to mistakes, do better next time. I like that. Or wait, I'm on the wrong one. That was, okay, I'm back in the CO one, sorry. So there's some other really great things in here that I really appreciated. And it was, so like holding a meeting with the mess, make it very clear that you want it to be challenging but meaningful, but most importantly, safe and respectful. No deviations from the approved schedule without your permission. They gave you a cell phone for a reason. No quotes, extracurricular activities, or you'll shut the whole fucking thing down. I love this dude. Or lady. This is fucking awesome. That should be the conversation with the Chiefs mess. Like, I don't think for a second, like, you can have a more grown-up conversation with your CMC in private, but, like, the conversation with the Chiefs mess based on the historical data points that we have should very much be, I will fucking cut your legs out from under you if you color outside the lines even a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, this is the expectation. We've briefed it. We've approved it. Everybody knows their role. But, like, if you color outside the fucking lines on, and it's that kind of shit that they're pointing out, like the dignity, respect, meaningful but challenging, that kind of shit. That's the direction. Those are your waypoints. We're going fucking that way. And if you do any extracurricular bullshit, if you try to deviate from that plan, I will fuck you up. That should 1,000% be the message. There should be a healthy fear in the conduct of the season of knowing if you deviate, or even if you encounter a situation where it gets weird, there should be a conversation had with your CMC and your CO, and you're talking about the way forward. The CO should be looped in on those things. Where, like, somebody's having a mental health issue, somebody's having like an existential crisis with do I even want to do this, or fuck this, I don't want to participate, or any of that stuff. So yeah, I really love the tone of that and the priorities that they're kind of pointing them in. There's an interesting note here. Chief Emeritus, so like the retired chiefs, like a guy like me, showing up as part of the process, says, tread lightly. I've let it happen, but I wanted to meet them first, know which events they're attending, ensure someone is watching them. I fucking 1,000% agree with this, which might be a little weird for people, because, like, that's not a thing I've seen run by the CO almost ever. People just fucking show up to stuff. And that's something that the CO would need to keep a tight grip on. And it would get even more convoluted when you're doing, like, in the area I'm in. If you're in port, everybody kind of does final night together. So, I mean, there's like 20, 30 commands at this final night. So you don't, like, one CO doesn't get, there's got to be some coordination there. One CO is not going to get to make that decision. They can make the decision on if they participate in that group event, but they can't make the decision on whether or not retired chiefs are going to be showing up to it, because there's a million other it'd have to be a thing where everybody's on the same page. That could totally happen. But, like, I mean, this shit does not, in my experience, and I would have never even thought, I'm being completely honest. If I wanted to invite somebody that was a retired chief, I would have thought that was in my, within my discretion to do. Like, I would have thought that would have been totally fine. I never would have thought in a million years my CO would have given a shit, because, like, while they show up to stuff, they sometimes, sometimes I think probably more often than not, COs would show up to charge book signing ceremony parts of final night events, and that's it. Because they just kind of were standoffish, and they're like, this is your thing. I don't want to, like, infringe on it or butt in or anything like that. I love when the CO comes. We had the last one I did, I think it was the last one I was actively participating in. Or no, I think it might have been when I flew out for somebody's final night or something. I don't know. But there was a CO there, and they were, like, really engaged and asking questions, and they really enjoyed that they got to be included in it. I think that's the default. If you're a commanding officer, like, the other officers, have a conversation about it, decide what the value is, and do it or don't, right? I'm not emotional about that at all. But the CO, the selectees CO, like, I feel like that person should be there. I feel like you should be there as much as you can afford to be, if not the entire final night event, and maybe even some other events. Like, I think the CO should be very involved, and their voice should be, like, ever present throughout the whole thing, because, like, that's the whole structure of the organization. Like, if I need your approval to run this training event, you damn sure should be involved in it in some way, because it's effectively their vision, even though it's our value system, or like as an organization, as the Chiefs miss. So I really love that. And he even mentions in here, and again, I'm assuming the it's a dude, but to attend, be present at events. Not all of them, just a few. Drop in unannounced. Establish that you're serious about things going to plan. Participate in PT especially. That I love that, because like this like freaked people out when I would do this. Cause like there's a lot of times where you'll show up to final night events and it looks like boot camp. It looks like a bunch of Chiefs barking at these like recruits to their organization and making them do all this PT, but not actively participating in it. I've been to so many final nights where there's like a big run at the beginning and 20% of the Chiefs are doing the run and everyone else is like figuring out where to park their RVs or fucking set up their barbecue grills or whatever they're doing. And it's like, what are we doing? First of all, you know how fucking cool it would be if there was like a couple hundred Chiefs running around, you know, the however 20 selects or whatever we had. But like I went to a final night. I mean, there was some groups of selects, but I mean, I want to say there's only like 15 selects and there was a shitload of Chiefs there, but only like 20 of us did the run and everybody else. But there was like 150, 200 Chiefs. I mean, there's a shitload of Chiefs there, but most of them were not involved in those types of events. Or if they were just kind of standing around heckling the Chief selects. That's bullshit. And I like a couple of different times at some of these events, I would start like, they would start PTing. I'd be like, oh, we're PTing. And I'd start PTing with them. And all these Chiefs immediately felt shame. And like, so then you'd see some of them start to do some push-ups so they could like be like, look, I'm doing some too. And then like some other people doing some other things, or like they would melt away, like because they were embarrassed. And it's like, dude, if you're making them do it, you should be willing to do it with them. And I would argue that maybe you're rotating in and out, but it's like, there should always be Chiefs doing PT with the selectees. They should never be doing it by themselves. And so I really appreciate that the CO is like participate in PT, especially because you're the example. And they are going to think it's really cool that the CO wants to be involved and that you took time out of your day to come fucking PT with them and like drop some knowledge on them. So it means a lot. But like just giving of your time and attention in this type of way, especially when you occupy that type of a position of significance in someone's life, like that's a big deal. Like, and people that really means something to those selects. I would argue it means a lot to those Chiefs too, because I always thought it was cool when the COs gave a shit about what we were doing and wanted to be involved and wanted to help and, you know, like, and be involved in events like this, like give of their time to be involved because this shit was important enough to them to show up and to demonstrate to these selectees that they cared about their process. That's a huge deal. And it's such a little thing. Like a lot of these guys, you're going to PT anyway, you might as well just show up and do it with the selectees. It's fun. Yeah. And then he says there are some events where your participation really enhances the experience, like the PT one. He said, I'm sworn to secrecy, but ask your CMC and volunteer. It'll make it that much more meaningful in the end. Be there on final night. All of final night. I agree with that. Final night's where you're going to get fucked. Like if you're a CO, final night's where you're going to get fired. So like be at final night. If you value your career trajectory, be at final night. Like if anything is going to, like the highest likelihood you're going to end up on the cover of the AV Times is final night. So even if for no other reason than self-preservation, be at final night. But also, they work with the CMC and like show up to whatever events they believe will be impactful. And I think the PT one's a really good idea. I think there's some other ones that would be really good. One of the fun ones is when they do something where they're like, I've seen events where like a selectee is blindfolded and they're back to back in a chair so you can't see who you're talking to. And, they're like counseling somebody based on these like canned lines about like, it's like a JO that is like shirking responsibility. And so the Chief's counseling them. And so inevitably they end up saying some wild shit and then they turn around and it's their CO and, they're like, oh fuck, you know? And it's like, but that interaction really punctuates whatever point's trying to be made, whatever like pseudo training objective they have. Yeah, and then it says some people may not want to play in season at all. Of course, you should encourage them, but ultimately it's their decision. Again, I don't think that's true, but I can't make like a argument backed by anything really, because they just insist on not fucking making it clear if it's mandatory or not. So, I mean, in absence of a policy document saying that it is, I imagine a CO could be like, all right, if they don't want to play, they don't have to play. But then you get into that weird space where, because you see a comment like that from the CO, but it's like, they're not, okay, what are the second and third order effects? Well, they're that the mess is going to ostracize them and treat them like shit, which is going to degrade the warfighting efficiency of your organization, degrade that chief's ability to lead, period, and probably degrade their fucking mental health, because they're going to start functioning as fifth graders and they're going to vote them off the island and not invite them to chiefs meetings and all these other things, which is going to make them uninformed, which is going to just handicap them in everything they do. And that's just bullshit. It's like you're just shooting yourself in the foot culturally as a command on an organization. But, you know, he talks a little bit about making a vessel safely. And I thought it was funny. He's like, some people just shouldn't be operating a bandsaw. So make sure you understand what's going on there, which is fair. And like writing a charge letter for the books, hand sign each one. I thought that was cool. I mean, I like most COs just write in by hand in the books, but some, if they have a lot to say, they'll print it out. I mean, I even do that through the podcast stuff because I don't know most of the people that contact me for a charge personally. So I just kind of have my standard charge, but every one of them signed. Make your pinning day speech short and sweet. Everyone's tired. Congratulate them, thank the families, and then, you know, call it a day. I thought that was cool too. Brief your ISIC on your plan, give them regular updates, report any issues immediately. That one's big too, because again, like the CO and CMC are going to be the ones that get fired if shit goes off the rails. So if an issue does come up, communicating it up the chain immediately and the plan to resolve the issue and that you're all over it, that's how you assuage the fears and head off some kind of a situation before it becomes a fireable issue where you get into like hazing accusations or sexual harassment or God knows what else. It's like, if the issue comes up and you take it seriously and you address the concerns and you put corrective actions into place and you're briefing your chain of command, you shouldn't end up in that type of a position. So like, that was cool too. Said pay it forward. This is something that I feel like is just culturally broken in the Chiefs mess. There are certainly individuals that do it well, but says stress upon the newly minted Chiefs that they now have an obligation to reach back and help first class sailors make chief. He put E7, but you know, he's an officer. They're an officer. Hold them to it. Ask who is participating in training events, 365, whatever, and follow up. So this is kind of almost like a remind them to pay it forward, but also be involved in actively discussing what your CMC and mess is doing to continue to develop your Chiefs mess, because there should be Chiefs training and then there should be like CPO 365 or Sailor 360 or whatever the fuck we're calling it. Right, where the Chiefs are reaching back and helping these first class petty officers ready themselves to advance, but then also there should be an active development of chief petty officers, which is why I'm such an enormous fan of conceptually. There's a CPO leadership course through NLED now where it's like specifically for chiefs within their, I think it's within their first 2 years. I can't remember, but it's like early on and after you're wearing anchors already. You're attending that course is for you. That's a beautiful thing that we're finally accepting that chiefs are not perfect once they pin on anchors. Like, no, if anything, you need more development then than at any other time because we've done such a shit job up to that point. But this was a really cool post as well. Like he talks about watching PFA preps and just because there's things that like if somebody is overweight and they're panicking because they know one of the two mandatory things is I have to pass a PFA, and don't think for a second that these chiefs won't throw that in your face and like lord that over you the whole season if you struggle in this area. But like like monitoring them, that they're happening safely, not like hazing via PT, but the fact that the individual is going to be so scared that they're not going to get pinned if they don't lose whatever weight or get to a point where they can run the 1.5 miles fast enough or whatever, do enough push-ups, whatever we're talking about, that they may start like crash dieting and fucking doing just insane things that are not healthy, and they're going to be stressed out, and they're going to be working longer hours, and they're going to be doing all these other things. So it's like, you just got to make sure they're doing that safely too. Make sure they're not self-harming in their attempt to try to like catch up with physical fitness or body fat or whatever. So yeah, they're like, and then this one, this was probably, I'll wrap up with this one. I got some thoughts where I'll summarize conceptually, but this one is another one. Well, there's two actually. So brief the new selectees and their spouses / significant others, and especially don't forget the significant others, right? So not just spouses. So they even have like a spouse brief pamphlet thing and all this other stuff, but it's not just about spouses, right? There are a lot of like, it's probably a lot more common now, and the mess hasn't caught up culturally, but like there's a lot more relationships where like they have kids and it's like still a familial structure, but they're not married, or maybe that like someone's dating a woman that has kids from a prior relationship. So it's still like a family unit functionally, but they're not married. So a lot of the times those people can be excluded for no fucking reason. And that's just going to add to their stress. It's going to add to the service member stress. It's going to become a problem later on. It's just not what we should be doing. And they're going to be actively involved in that Chiefs participation in events going forward. So it's like, yeah, you kind of want them on board. So make sure that you're briefing them on what to expect during the Chiefs season. There should be an intentional meeting between like the CMC and sponsors or CMC and CO or something to that effect, where you're explaining to them like what's about to happen, why it's about to happen, how they're going to be stressed out, what to do if it becomes too much on the spouse side of things or the significant other side of things. Blah, blah, blah. That's incredibly important and often overlooked or lowballed. So like, that's a big one too. And then the one that I thought was, I'm a little on the fence about how I feel about it is they said, have at least one meeting with the selectees alone. So like no Chiefs, just the selectees and the CO. I'm on board with it, so long as you understand how effective it, like kind of like what the ceiling is for what you're going to get out of a meeting like that. He said, preferably a week or so into it, kick all the other Chiefs out. This is their one-on-one time with you. No holds barred, no attribution. Okay, that's not fucking real, right? And like, it'll be a lot harder to single somebody out when you're talking about like a group of 50 or 100 or 150 selects on like a fucking aircraft carrier or something. But on a submarine, when there's 3, it's like, there's always attribution. That group is going to get wrecked if something's said and you're like, well, I'm not going to tell you who, it's an anonymous comment, but there's only 3 of them. And so like, it's not going to be hard to figure out who was the most likely culprit. So either they're going to single that person out and get back at them, or they're just going to punish the whole group. Either way, that's attribution like a motherfucker. So like, that's not real, but it says they can ask anything they want. Discuss your expectations of a chief and share stories of the Chiefs who got you where you are in your career. This is one of my favorite parts of the season. So the idea that it's going to be a meeting that is going to be, it's almost like the open door policy thing, like that it's like some altruistic intent of like, you can come tell me anything and I'll take care of it if there's a problem and all that kind of stuff. It's like, we all know that's bullshit. Like, we all know that's not real. Like, there's always going to be a cost to the person that speaks up. And it's like, in this case, I think if you're treating this meeting as an opportunity for them to speak up and for you to then go to the CMC, who then goes to whoever the problem is or whatever, and rectifies it in that way, and then there's somehow no attribution to the selectees at all, is a fantasy. But I think there could be feedback provided that could be constructive in that way. But also, being able to talk to your commanding officer about the things that they then listed without the Chiefs present is a big deal, because while they may not be willing to complain about how the Chiefs season's going or whatever complaints they have about an individual or just like spill tea or whatever, it's like, What they are going to be willing to do is have a much more open and frank discussion with the CO, with the Chiefs not in the room, about they can ask anything they want, discuss your expectations of a chief petty officer, share stories of chiefs who got you where you are in your career. This is one of my favorite parts of the season. That part of it, the mentorship and sharing the experience and sitting in a commanding officer's stateroom with a commanding officer like pin on and dispensing the type of wisdom that comes from a career as an officer, like now in the position of being a CO and talking about like what you expect out of a chief petty officer as a commanding officer in the seat actively, fucking invaluable, man. Like, because most of my stress as a chief came from the interactions and not being able to decipher what the actual priorities and expectations of my commanding officer were. Mind you, the guy was fucking bipolar and like he should have been medicated, but like that's where a lot of the stress comes from. So as a CO, if you're willing to sit down, and in that dude's defense, he did regularly have meetings with the Chiefs mess. I don't think he listened to us much, but he came down and like he put on the show part anyway, where he came down and talked to the Chiefs. Selects are the same way. And I think you're kind of installing the foundation for how they're going to interact with commanding officers going forward as a chief in those types of situations. So for COs, especially that have had predominantly negative interactions with chiefs and may have like a bit of a bad taste in their mouth regarding chiefs, this is how you fucking fix it, right? Like there's this comorbidity, like there's like these two problems of one, COs don't do this shit enough, but then also chiefs don't do their job and train junior officers in the manner that they should, so that they then become COs who understand and value the Chiefs mess in a way that a CO that didn't get that and has had negative interactions or had chiefs have burned them or whatever. It's like, it's a cycle where it's like they both are codependent. So it's like Chiefs need to do a great job training divos, but also COs need to be actively engaging these baby chiefs in this kind of a way. So I think it's very productive to have these types of meetings with your Chiefs mess too, but also, and maybe like kick the CMC out, but like this one in particular, I think is very, very important in the development of chiefs. I really think COs should take the time to do this. It's only going to make your chiefs better. And like the mess you have actively, because some of those chiefs are going to stay in your unit. So it's like, that's a big one. The second part of it, I think, is infinitely more important than the first part. Not to say that like if something's bad enough, like, yeah, they should know that they can come to you and tell you like something's horribly wrong here. And if they don't trust the Chiefs, and in this scenario, they probably wouldn't, to do that, then yeah, I mean, they should feel comfortable coming to you and you can establish that. But again, it's like there's going to be a high threshold for pain because they're going to be afraid of it like coming back to haunt them if they complain. So it's going to have to be something that's like super egregious, I would think, for most people to get over that threshold. But the more important part of this, like I think creating the expectation if something did get that bad that they could come to you and it would be okay. Okay, but there's attribution, like there's gonna be. But if we get to the point where they don't care, like they just make the bad man stop, okay. Like they need to know that door's open. But more importantly, I think, maybe equally importantly, I just think there's a lot more value because specifically because the first scenario, like them exceeding the threshold for where they don't care about attribution and they're willing to come tell you what's going on to get it to stop, that's going to be so rare. It's going to occur so infrequently that in comparison to every single chief season, every single CO at every single unit should be having this type of conversation with their brand new baby chiefs. So like that, I think, has a much broader impact and it's more important to like focus on, just because the other one's kind of like oh shit, if this happens, they need to know that they have that ripcord to pull. And that's important. It is. You need to make that known to them. But it's more important that just because the impact is greater. I hope that makes sense. I'm not saying the first thing's not important, but yeah, I thought this was really cool, like, because so the first thing got sent to me and I'm like, man, do I really want to talk about Chiefs season shit again? But because I know I'm going to get into it as the Chiefs season starts, because it's inevitable. It's just, that's what everybody's talking about and that's what I'll get messages about. And that's, just going to be at the forefront of everyone else's mind. But I thought the two things combined, these two posts combined, and again, I'll put links in the show notes, and you'll probably see screenshots of them on some of the clips on social media, but the Chiefs season is such a weird thing. It's procedurally, like, for what it's claiming to do, it's broken. It's completely, like, directionless. The training objectives that the CO is talking about, making sure that you're aware of and briefed on, and that you as a CO are approving, they don't exist, man, unless they're just handing you the mission, vision, and guiding principles. Like, there's not a policy document that says these are the competencies that a chief petty officer should have, again, outside of mission, vision, guiding principles, which is what our evals are built on. But there's not, like, training document. Like, you can't go, oh, hey, go get me the instructor guide and I'll just look at it, or go print me the master course document and some of the other, like, just the overall training objectives for the season. And it's like, well, there aren't any. They don't exist. I mean, best case scenario, you could print the IGs for teaching of the creed, which is absolute dog shit as a curriculum. But, like, that's the only formal course there is. And it's like, all you got to do, and, like, no one's ever going to listen to me, but that's fine. Like, whatever. Like, you're literally listening to me right now. I just mean, like, actually follow what I'm saying, like, take action on what I'm saying. In this lane, institutionally, it's like, just hand the shit to NLEC ELD and say, generate a master course document and instructor guides to, and just build it off the mission, vision, guiding principles. And so you have an instructor guide for each thing, and throughout the Chiefs season, through your trainings and training events and team building exercises and final lane, all the things, you have to accomplish the following training objectives in these areas of competence for a chief petty officer. And that ought to do. Like, I think you could do more, but, like, at least there would be a direction. At least there would be a universal document that every mess conducting an initiation season. And I fucking hate that it's called initiation now, but, like, it just you're saying the quiet part out loud that this isn't actually training. It's initiation. It's fucking fuck games, as they so eloquently put it in the first post. It's, like, everybody running this training event would be on the same page, literally. Like, you don't have to make up training objectives. You have them on a piece of paper approved by the Naval Leadership and Ethics Center via the fucking War College and MCPON and CNO and whoever the fuck else you want to via and sign the document. Like, whatever, man. Just write an instruction, have a fucking master course document and some IGs based on the mission, vision, guiding principles. Yahtzee. We did it, kids. It's not fucking hard. And you're not even going to change anything that wildly by doing it itself. Hopefully people will, read it and start following it, and COs will enforce it, which is probably going to be the more, like, impactful mechanism. And then those things will start to bring the Chiefs mess into some form of alignment in its priorities for developing chiefs. And it's like, that would be nice if we were all, like, sort of doing the same thing. And it's like, it's cool that you can tell me about the fallacious nature of your chronometer, and, like, everybody knows that. And, like, if you're not an accepted chief, you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about unless you stumbled across some orders or something. But, like, the secret decoder ring shit, it's cool, it's fun, but, like, that's not going to help me be a better chief. Like, actually accomplishing training objectives are, and holy shit are we bad at that, because there aren't fucking any. So, let's give that shit to Toby Ruiz and the boys and get that shit done, man. I'm sure there's girls too. I'm sorry. I'm just Toby Ruiz and the homies. I for however long he's there. I'm sure he's retiring soon, but NLEC ELD, like, just give it to him and fuck off. Like, I would really love for, like, there to be an outside entity involved, like, Echelon Front or something, like some type of exterior, like, leadership consulting thing. Cause I don't have faith that the competence exists for us to self-develop this. I was talking to somebody the other day about this. I had dinner with, somebody, a homie through the podcast platform, but a chief that we were talking about some things podcast related and then just like naval leadership related generally. And it was just like, I compared it to CSA school and the competence of CS's being like all the competencies in our rate are focused on superfluous administrative requirements, superfluous financial management and audit and analysis bullshit. Just like a whole bunch of administrative shit, because when charged with like developing the focus of the rating, they couldn't develop it to focus on culinary arts because they didn't have the competency. It doesn't exist. There are some anomalies out there in the rate in like Gen Pop on ships and shit that have fancy culinary degrees and some industry experience, but they're rare. And most of them either get the fuck out of the Navy because this isn't that, or they go to the enlisted aid community and stay there forever. So the competence doesn't exist in our career fields. So of course A school's fucking terrible. And I'm not, I loved my time there. We tried our best. So are the instructors that are there now, and they're investing everything they have into these kids and getting them as ready as they can to go to the fleet. But in 25 training days with instructors that have never been taught themselves the fundamentals of culinary arts proper, how the fuck are they going to then teach that to someone else, especially in a timeline that short? Same thing with chiefs. It's like, if the competence doesn't exist, which is the argument that I make on a regular basis, like if leadership and competence in the chiefs mess is such that we are where we are right now, why the fuck would we ask those same people to develop the thing that's going to install that competence? They don't fucking have it. So how are they going to know what needs to be in that? And so that again begs the question. It's like, there should be outside entities involved. And that doesn't mean that they can't be like people that are people like Jocko and the homies or whoever, right? Enlick or not Enlick ELD, the Enlisted Leadership Foundation people, Dave Deary and all his team, like they're all retirees pretty much. So it's like, or something. I mean, just, we gotta fucking, there's gotta be some help involved is what I'm saying. But yeah, I guess I'll wrap it up there. For the Chief season people, like for the Chiefs that are about to be involved in their first season as a chief, and then the selectees that are inbound, and even the Chiefs that have done a few, but still like you're starting to feel a little disillusioned by the process. Go check out all the Initiation Chronicles episodes. Go listen to the Teaching the Creed episodes. I recommend forwarding the Teaching the Creed ones to your sailors as the selectees that are about to go through it. The frank discussion that they wanted to have, we had on those podcasts, excuse me. But yeah, the Initiation Chronicles episodes very much in the same vein as the first post from this Reddit thing. Like I explain all this stuff. I decrypt all the things that should be explained to you throughout the Chief season, but they just don't. And like, what, even when the CSC says, I'm sworn to secrecy. Well, fucking why? Ask yourself that question. COs ask yourself that question. Chiefs ask yourself that question. Like, why is there this secrecy shit inherent in almost everything we do during the Chief season? It's like, there's only a few moments where somebody you have this moment where they need to trust you and you need to trust them, and they're going to be vulnerable. The selectees are going to be vulnerable for information. Chiefs are going to be vulnerable, hopefully, if they're fucking doing it right. And those things don't need to be broadcast to an audience that is not only the people that need to be there, right? Like the Chiefs and the Chief selects and maybe the CO. But outside of those moments, there's nothing that happens during the Chief season that needs to be secret. There's no value added to anything that happens during the Chief season when those things are secret. Like junior sailors not knowing what's inside the backpack the Chief selectees are wearing. Fucking zero value to that. Zero value added. I would actually say there would be value added to doing the opposite. There would be value added to a selectee being able to sit down, open their vessel, and be working on their charge book on cruise mess and have Seaman Timmy walk up and ask them what they're doing, and then them getting to share that with them. I would say that would add way more value. You'd have a lot more sailors saying that they wanted to grow up and be chiefs if we had that kind of transparency, because they would understand it better. But you'd have even more if we did a better job and had training objectives and it was formalized and et cetera. But I'm going to wrap it up there. If you need anything from us, hit us up. Don't give up the ship podcast at gmail.com. You can Facebook message us. Don't give up the ship podcast, or you can DM us on Instagram, Reddit, or Discord at dgutspodcast. If you want to support us, you go to dgutspodcast.com. There's a donate button in the upper right-hand corner of the website, or you can click shop and that'll take you to Don't Give Up the Ship Apparel. It's dgutspodcast.com. Get yourself some naval pride and heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. It's pretty dope stuff. Stickers, shirts, hoodies, all the things. It's going to start getting cold here in a few months. Got lots of hoodies and they're pretty fire, if I do say so. I designed them all myself. It's all cool naval pride and heritage gear. Some rating specific stuff, some heritage stuff, all kinds of stuff. Warfare community specific stuff. And then you can go to patreon.com/dgutspodcast, pick one of the 5 tiers, become a member today. The cheapest one's $5 a month. You won't even notice it's gone, but it helps us a ton. Helps us pay the bills, expand the platform, do all the things we want to do, including developing a course to try to address shit like this. Like, I'm going to try to develop a course where there's lectures on YouTube and where there's discussion based on the lectures and activities that are done on Discord, and try to develop like a remote course for people to address the gaps that aren't addressed by the Chief Season and the other formal leadership courses. So that's inbound, and all that, any money you contribute to the platform, it goes towards stuff like that. I don't pocket any of it, not a dime. So yeah, if you can help us in any way, shape, or form monetarily, we really appreciate it. If you can't, like, share, subscribe, review on all the platforms for all the things. Consume the podcast on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Like, that helps a bunch with monetization on YouTube. So eventually that'll help pay some of those bills and expand the platform. But also, you can, review us on iTunes. You can follow us on Instagram. You can tag your friends in posts or send them links to podcasts, whatever. All of it's free and all of it helps. And we really, really appreciate it. And that's it. That's what I got for you today. Thank you so much for listening, and don't give up the ship. Hey, shout out to all our level 5 patrons, Victoria Livingood, William McIver, and Mark Galagos. To all our other patrons, we really appreciate your support. Helps to pay all the bills, expand the platform, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. Please hit the like button, drop a comment down below on what you thought, and subscribe to the channel.